It all started with my sister, Mary. She was always the one who stirred up trouble, the one who could never be relied upon, and it was clear from the beginning that she had her own way of handling things. But what happened years ago changed everything. One day, Mary disappeared from my life, along with my husband, Todd. They ran away together, leaving behind her son, Matt, who was only 6 months old and gravely ill. At the time, Matt's doctors gave him just 6 months to live due to a severe illness. And to be honest, I never thought I would see any of them again. That day, when I saw them standing in front of me after 15 years, it all came rushing back. The betrayal, the hurt, the loss. My heart was racing as I stood face to face with them. There they were, standing in front of me as if time had never passed. Todd was laughing, and Mary, with her casual smile, was talking about Matt as if everything in the world had gone just fine. I was repulsed. I could feel the anger building up inside me, ready to confront them both about the years of pain they had caused. But before I could say anything, I heard a voice behind me that stopped me in my tracks. "Mom, it's time to go." I turned around and saw Matt, not the sick, fragile little boy I had once cared for, but a grown, confident young man in a sharp suit. He stood there, strong and healthy, looking at me with a steady gaze. Mary and Todd's faces dropped. They couldn't recognize him, couldn't believe their eyes. This was not the child they had left behind. "This is Matt," I said, my voice thick with pride. "He's 20 now and thriving." For a moment, there was silence. Mary and Todd just stared at Matt, unable to process the transformation. Matt stood tall, not just physically, but emotionally. He was a reflection of everything I had fought for over the years. I turned back to Mary and Todd, my voice calm but firm. "Matt remembers everything. Even though he was just a child, he knows who you are." Matt stepped forward, looking at them with an expression I couldn't quite read. His voice was steady, but it carried the weight of everything that had happened. "I know who you two are. You're my biological mother, and he's Todd." Todd blinked, a bit lost. But you were supposed to be really sick. We thought you only had 6 months to live." I looked at Todd, almost with pity. No, Matt was never sick. That 6-month story was a lie. He was malnourished, and after Mary left, I took him to the doctor. He just needed the right care, proper food, proper attention. He wasn't dying, he was neglected. The shock on their faces was almost too much to bear. Mary's face flushed bright red. "I tried," she said weakly, her voice barely audible. He was such a picky eater. I couldn't help but scoff at her excuse. "The problem wasn't his appetite, Mary. It was you. You left him with me, and while you were out, I was the one raising him." Matt turned to Todd, who was now looking both confused and devastated. "You told me you were exhausted from working for Matt's sake," Todd said, almost accusing. "Why didn't you tell me you were seeing other men during the week? Why didn't you tell me you were leaving him with Gemma while you had fun?" Mary went silent. She knew she couldn't defend herself anymore. "Let me guess," I said, not giving him the satisfaction of seeing me angry. "Todd was the most financially stable of all the men you were seeing. Was he just your ATM?" Mary's eyes widened in panic, but she couldn't speak. She had been exposed. Todd's face turned from confusion to anger. "Is that true?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Was I just your ATM, Mary?" I didn't need to say anything else. I had all the evidence I needed. I even have recordings. I added, "Conversations with your friends where you called Todd your ATM." Mary froze, realizing that her lies had finally caught up with her. Todd, looking absolutely shattered, could hardly process what was happening. "Our daughter might not even be mine," he muttered, staring at Mary in disbelief. Mary quickly grabbed his arm, trying to convince him otherwise, but Todd wasn't buying it. "I want a divorce," he said bluntly. The words hit like a thunderbolt, and for the first time in years, I saw a hint of real emotion in Todd's face. Mary's panic was evident as she clung to him. "What? No, you can't be serious," she cried out. But Todd stood firm. "After everything I've learned, I can't stay with you," he said coldly. "You lied to me. You treated me like an ATM." I stood there, calm, but inside I was filled with satisfaction. This wasn't about me, or even Todd. It was about Matt, who had suffered because of their selfishness. Matt is the one who matters, I said quietly, looking at them both. I raised him. I gave him a life of love and care. No matter what you two decide to do, that will never change. Just as I was about to leave, Matt's calm voice echoed behind me. Mom, are you ready to go? His words, so simple yet so strong, made everything fall into place. I smiled back at him, feeling more proud of him than ever before. Sorry to keep you waiting, I said, my voice filled with warmth. Let's go, Matt. As we turned to leave, Mary and Todd stood frozen, staring at Matt in shock. They couldn't recognize the young man standing before them. Wait, is that Matt? Mary asked, her voice trembling. Matt stood tall, a confident smile on his face. Yes, I said proudly. This is Matt. He's 20 now. He's healthy, strong, and living his best life. Matt looked directly at Mary and Todd, his gaze unwavering. I remember everything. Even though I was young, he said, I know who you are, and I know what you did. Mary's face paled as Matt's words cut deep. He wasn't a sick child they had abandoned anymore. He was strong, and he had made something of himself despite everything. I decided I would never forgive you, Matt added, his voice cold. Mary tried to speak, but her words failed her. Don't try to call her Mom, Matt said, cutting her off. Gemma raised me. She's my real mother. With that, we turned to walk away, leaving Mary behind. Her voice, broken and full of regret, called out after us. Matt, I'm so sorry. I regret leaving you all this time. But Matt, now the young man he had become, didn't turn around. He kept walking, his voice steady. Don't bother. The pain in Mary's voice was only the beginning of her unraveling. Later, I would hear that Todd had done a DNA test and found out the daughter he thought was his wasn't. He sued Mary for damages and filed for divorce. Mary tried to spread rumors about him, but it only backfired, leaving her with nothing. As for Matt, he continued to thrive. He grew into an amazing young man, got engaged to a wonderful woman, and made me prouder than I could ever express. I took him out on his 20th birthday to celebrate, just the two of us. Let's make a toast to adulthood, I said, raising my glass. Cheers, Matt replied, clinking his glass with mine. That moment, that simple moment of joy and peace, was everything I had worked for. Raising Matt had been the greatest challenge and the greatest blessing of my life. As I looked at him, I knew I had made the right choice in taking him in, protecting him, and loving him as my own. He was my son in every way that mattered, and together, we had made it through the storm.